When you can actually see your profit for the year in dollars and cents, it gets you more in the notion of selling corn, knowing that I can lock in a $50,000 profit or whatever the profit is. You want to lock it in. If I know I can make that much profit in a year, I will be in business next year.
Good afternoon, welcome to GrainTV. My name is Cody Bills. Today is the 26th. It's a Friday for the weekly wrap-up. Keep in mind that first notice day is on the 30th. That's a Tuesday. You got to be out of those July contracts by the close of trade on Monday. That's very important for anyone that doesn't want to take any deliveries or get into a delivery situation. So just keep that in mind as we go through this weekend if you still have some July positions on your books. Guys, let's take a look at the closing trades here. See where we closed off the day. You'll notice corn trading up sharply, up 8 1/4 cents. We were trading a little higher on the day, but we were able to hang in there near the close. That was very positive. Soybeans down 1/2 cent here for the July contract. Very interesting. We'll talk a little bit about that. It was up pretty substantially earlier on, but wasn't able to hold on to those gains. We'll take a look at the chart and see what that means in the minutes to come. Also, wheat here coming up, closing 29 cents higher. Very positive to see for wheat, and we'll talk a little bit about that as well. So let's get into this. Take a look at the chart landscape here. You'll notice this is for corn. 379, that's the area where you have that overhead downtrend resistance level. You'll also notice 379 is kind of right in the area that 100-day moving average is at. Those are resistance levels. Now, we were able to punch through those today, close on the high side above them. I think it'll be interesting to see how Monday will react. There is a possibility that we kind of pull back a little bit after the very resilient trade that we saw here this Friday. It's quite possible we give back some of that and retest this area, which was resistance. It could now turn into support. So that 379 could be an important price level here on Monday. Guys, keep in mind that on Monday we also have some important news coming out. Crop progress. Now, crop progress is particularly important this week because we've had an exceptional amount of rain. Back in Ohio, back in Indiana, last week we saw a significant downgrade in the corn conditions, rated good to excellent there. It's going to be interesting to see with the significant amount of rain that moved through the Midwest this week, dropping 7 inches in Iowa and parts of Missouri. And then, of course, another storm following here that started on Thursday in South Dakota is going to move east and dump more rain on already saturated fields. It's going to be interesting to pay close attention to that crop progress report. We may continue to see some downgrades here to come. Now let's talk a little bit about wheat, because wheat was the commodity that really held on to its gains today, showed a lot of strength. You'll notice really since the end of or the beginning of January, we've been kind of hammering out a bottom here, just moving sideways. Now yes, we have been still in a downtrend. It was a slight downtrend, but it seems as though we broke through that today. Once we got through those highs, once we got through that red kind of downtrend line, we were able to get off to the races here and able to close near the highs of the day. I think that's very positive to see here for wheat. But you know, like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if some of this has to do with the acreage report. I think some of it, there's a lot of factors at play here. But I wouldn't be surprised if we're seeing some short covering, catalyst being the rain events going on in the southern plains, the fact that harvest is behind pace. On Monday it was 19%. I believe it was supposed to be around 31% according to the 4-year average, so we are behind pace. The wheat down there is a very vulnerable time period to be getting a lot of moisture here in terms of quality. So this is all playing into this rally here. On top of that, we have some dry weather in France. We saw their good to excellent ratings be moved down to 81% from 85% last week. The week before that, their good to excellent ratings were at 87%. So the bottom line here is there's been very dry weather over there in France. That is impacting the yields most likely for the wheat over there. Not only that, but in the weeks to come, it looks as though there could be some high temperatures, low precipitation amounts in the earlier part of July, and that could play an important role here on the global supply and demand balance sheet. When you think about the El Nino event, this could also have some potential hot and dry weather in the summer for India and Australia and parts of Asia. So that's important to pay attention to, even though already it doesn't seem there doesn't seem to have been a lack of precipitation yet. But in El Nino events, typically what you see is a little bit less precipitation in that Australia, India, Asia region. So just keep that in mind. Like I said, it's not something that has presented an immediate threat right now, but it is kind of an ominous cloud overhanging the grain markets. When you look at the July soybean futures, you'll notice that we were able to break through that overhead resistance level, break through the 100-day moving average. And you'll notice that today, early on, man, we were off to the races, trading sharply higher here. I was thinking that we could be moving up to that 1040 price level that offered resistance back in February, but we were unable to hold on to the gains, and by the close, boy, we turned around and it almost seemed like we were mostly unchanged on the day. You'll look at the chart and you'll see that we were very strong early on, and then we started selling off, had a rebound back there middle part of the day, but by the end, the last 5 minutes, boy, we saw some selling to bring us back to mostly unchanged on today. So it's going to be important. Of course, Monday we got those crop conditions. We're going to want to be paying close attention to whether or not Missouri got any more of its soybeans in the field. If it hasn't, it's only about a little over half planted there in Missouri. There is concern that we could see acreage reductions simply because we haven't been able to get the soybeans in the ground. We're 90% planted on Monday. 95% planted is typically what we see during this time period, but when you looked at the weather going forward, it didn't look like it was offering up much of an opportunity to get the remainder of the crop in the ground. So that's going to be something we're also paying very close attention to on Monday. Keep in mind also for soybeans in play here is that acreage report. I think I think a lot of what was driving this last week is short covering. I think a lot of the short covering, we get a catalyst from the excessive rain that we've seen, but we also get short covering because there's the possibility that we could see some acreage revisions, and that could change the scenario here. That could change that balance sheet, and I think what we were seeing is shorts, which are we've seen heavy shorts in corn, soybeans, and wheat start to liquidate their positions going into this report. So I do think it was a lot short covering. Short covering rallies can have they can go a lot higher than you expect. They can last longer than you expect. They're hard to predict, but the bottom line is I really do believe over the last few weeks we have been seeing some short covering going into this planted acreage report. Now let's take a look quickly. You'll notice the 8 to 10 day forecast. Not a whole lot of change here. It looks as though we're going to be getting more precipitation throughout the Midwest. It doesn't look to be as heavy over South Dakota, North Dakota, Iowa, Nebraska area, but notice Indiana, Ohio, parts of Illinois all receiving more precipitation. Those are pretty saturated areas right there. That's going to be something we're going to want to be paying close attention to in the weeks to come. Will we get some clearer weather? Will we get a little bit of a break here from the heavy amounts of rain that we've been receiving all spring? Now let's talk a little bit about the basis levels. Cash basis, of course, that's what makes Grain Hedge special, and it also makes for a great Friday weekly wrap-up. So let's talk about what the cash market's been doing here over the last week with this rally. You'll notice corn on average across the U.S. basis was down a penny. We saw ethanol down 1.5 cents, but the river markets, where we took a little bit of heat here, down 3.5 cents on average at river terminals. So I think one of the things that was kind of pressuring basis along river terminals is just the fact that really we've had a lot of rain and we're reaching some flood stages that's backing up some of the barges there, and it's just in general putting a little bit of pressure on the basis market. Now let's talk a little bit about soybeans, because another interesting thing is that soybeans really took it on the chin in terms of basis this week. Down 6 cents. We saw plants down 7 cents on average across the U.S. and river market down 7 cents as well. So this is going to be interesting to see if we get any kind of a rebound. But what we've noticed is that as the markets rally, farmers seem to be taking advantage of that and putting some sales out there. That's pushing down basis, and that's what pressured the market here this week. Guys, that wraps up today's show. If you have any questions about what we talked about today, please give us a call. The number is 877-472-4607. And remember, if you haven't done so already, get prepared for that WASDE report. If you don't have live quotes, we'd be happy to supply you with a 14-day free trial of our trading platform. You'll be able to see live quotes there on the mobile platform as well as the desktop platform. You'll be able to view the reaction to that June 30th planted acreage report live from your phone or your computer. So go ahead, if you haven't done so already, take a demo of that 14-day free trial. We'll be in touch with you. Make sure that you get the most out of that platform demo. Thanks a lot for tuning in. We'll see you here Monday.